In the vast and rapidly changing landscape of global economics, one partnership is reshaping the balance of power: the growing bond between China and Africa. What began as a modest trade relationship has evolved into one of the most powerful and strategic economic alliances of the 21st century. Across deserts, cities, ports, and digital highways, China is transforming its relationship with Africa in ways that are redefining globalization itself. Decades ago, Africa's vast natural resources were often extracted by colonial powers, leaving behind broken infrastructure and fragile economies. But in the early 2000s, a new player entered the scene with a completely different approach: China. Beijing's strategy was simple yet revolutionary. Instead of extracting and leaving, it offered development through partnership, trade, and infrastructure. Roads, railways, and ports began to rise across the continent, not built by Western powers or international aid agencies, but by Chinese engineers, financed by Chinese banks, and executed by Chinese state-owned companies. Today, the China-Africa relationship is no longer just about commodities or construction. It has become a complex web of investment, technology, digital innovation, and industrial cooperation. From Nairobi's high-speed rail line to Lagos's free trade zones, from Addis Ababa's industrial parks to Egypt's new administrative capital, Chinese projects are visible in nearly every African nation. These are not random investments; they are part of China's long-term strategic vision known as the Belt and Road Initiative, or BRI. Through the BRI, China aims to create a new global network of trade routes connecting Asia, Africa, and Europe through infrastructure and technology. Africa, with its young population, untapped markets, and growing demand for energy, is central to this plan. For Beijing, Africa represents both opportunity and partnership, a continent rich in potential and ready to grow. For many African nations, China offers something the West often did not: fast, flexible investment without political conditions attached. That has made Chinese funding extremely attractive, particularly for countries eager to modernize without strings tied to Western-style reforms. But this economic relationship is not without controversy. Critics argue that China's loans have created a new kind of dependency, one based not on colonialism but on debt. Some point to nations like Zambia and Kenya, which have struggled to manage large debts owed to Chinese banks. Others warn that China's influence may come at the cost of African sovereignty, as strategic assets like ports and mines fall under Chinese management when debts can't be repaid. Yet for many African leaders, the results speak louder than the criticism. In places where Western institutions failed to deliver, China stepped in and built. Roads that were once dirt are now paved highways. Ports once neglected are thriving hubs of trade. Chinese technology companies like Huawei and ZTE have built Africa's communication backbone, connecting millions of people and opening doors to the digital economy. China's presence has also helped diversify Africa's trade landscape. For decades, African economies were tied almost exclusively to Western markets. But now, the continent's exports to China, from copper and cobalt to tea, coffee, and textiles, are helping African countries find new sources of income and stability. In return, China imports massive amounts of natural resources while also opening its markets to African goods, from agricultural products to manufactured items. Beyond economics, the partnership is expanding into education, culture, and technology. Thousands of African students study in Chinese universities each year under scholarship programs. Chinese television channels and films are now broadcast in several African countries, showcasing China's soft power and cultural reach. Meanwhile, China's growing tech footprint in Africa is creating new possibilities for innovation. In Kenya and Nigeria, Chinese-backed companies are helping build smart cities and e-commerce ecosystems that rival those in Asia. What's even more striking is how China's relationship with Africa is evolving from simple aid and construction to full-scale industrial cooperation. In countries like Ethiopia, Chinese factories are producing goods not just for local consumption but for export to Europe and beyond. This shift is creating job, skills, and local industries, slowly moving Africa away from being a raw material supplier toward becoming a producer. Still, the question remains: who benefits more, China or Africa? The answer, like the relationship itself, is complex. China gains access to critical minerals, new markets, and political influence across a continent of 1.4 billion people. Africa gains infrastructure, technology, and investment that were once out of reach. Whether this will lead to long-term equality or new forms of dependency depends on how both sides manage the future. China's leaders insist their goal is mutual development, a win-win partnership built on shared growth and respect. They often reference their own history as a developing nation, emphasizing solidarity with Africa's struggle for economic independence. And many African leaders agree. They see China not as a new master but as a model, proof that rapid industrialization and global relevance are possible even without following the Western playbook. The results are undeniable. Africa's skylines are rising. Its trade networks are expanding. And behind many of these changes are Chinese investments quietly powering growth. Yet, challenges remain. Environmental concerns, transparency issues, and questions about labor practices continue to spark debate. But despite the criticism, the momentum is not slowing down. In fact, it's accelerating. In 2024, trade between China and Africa surpassed $280 billion, making China the continent's largest trading partner for the 15th consecutive year. New agreements in renewable energy, electric vehicles, and digital technology signal a shift toward a more sustainable and high-tech partnership. China is now helping Africa tap into solar power, build EV assembly plants, and expand 5G connectivity industries that will define the next generation of economic growth. This transformation isn't happening overnight. It's the product of decades of strategic planning, cultural diplomacy, and shared ambition. China understands that the future of global power depends not just on wealth or weapons, but on influence, and Africa's 54 nations hold enormous influence in global institutions. By supporting development and trade, China is also strengthening its voice on the world stage, gaining allies and partners in international organizations. For Africa, the challenge now is to harness China's investments in a way that builds long-term independence rather than reliance. That means ensuring projects create local jobs, transfer technology, and strengthen homegrown industries. Many African governments are now negotiating more balanced deals, demanding local participation and accountability. And in many cases, China is adapting, increasingly focusing on partnerships rather than pure loans. What's emerging is a new model of cooperation, one that could define the future of global economics. A model where development is built through infrastructure, technology, and trade rather than aid or control. A model where Asia and Africa rise together, reshaping the old world order dominated by the West. As the world watches, China's transformation of its economic relationship with Africa is not just changing one continent. It's changing the entire fabric of global trade and power. Ports are busier, cities are growing, and new industries are emerging from Cairo to Cape Town. This is more than economics, it's a reimagining of what global partnership looks like in the modern era. Whether history remembers it as a success story or a cautionary tale will depend on the next decade. But one thing is certain: the China-Africa relationship has already changed the world. What began as a promise of friendship has become one of the defining alliances of our time. From railways to data cables, from factories to fiber optics, the future of two continents is being built together. And as this partnership deepens, one message becomes clear: the future of global development may no longer be written in Washington or London but in Beijing and across the cities of a rising Africa. The transformation unfolding between China and Africa is far more than a story of trade deals and infrastructure. It's a glimpse into a new world order, one that is multipolar, dynamic, and deeply interconnected. Both sides are rewriting the rules of engagement, proving that economic growth can be born not only from traditional Western frameworks but from new alliances that prioritize pragmatic progress and mutual benefit. At the heart of this evolution lies a shared understanding that development cannot wait. For decades, Africa's potential was often discussed but rarely unleashed. Roads remained unpaved, industries underdeveloped, and opportunities untapped. China saw what others ignored: a continent on the edge of a renaissance, ready to take its place as a major global player. Through the Belt and Road Initiative, China has become more than just a foreign investor, it has become a partner in Africa's transformation. Ports like Mombasa and Djibouti now link Africa more directly to Asia and Europe. Massive industrial parks in Ethiopia and Nigeria are fueling local manufacturing. Renewable energy projects are lighting up towns that once lived in darkness. And digital networks powered by Chinese tech are connecting millions to the world for the first time. But this partnership is not without its shadows. The debt issue, questions of transparency, and growing dependency concerns linger in the background. African policymakers face the delicate challenge of ensuring that the benefits of Chinese investment truly reach their people. Likewise, China must navigate the fine line between influence and overreach, between partnership and dominance. The next phase of this relationship will test both sides. As Africa's youth population surges and demands more opportunities, China will have to move beyond construction and commodities into supporting innovation, education, and local entrepreneurship. The focus must shift from building physical infrastructure to building human capacity, from steel and concrete to skills and creativity. At the same time, Africa's leaders have an opportunity like never before. With China's resources and technological power, they can accelerate industrialization, strengthen their economies, and position their nations as equal players in the global economy. But they must also ensure that this progress does not come at the cost of sovereignty or sustainability. If balanced correctly, the China-Africa partnership could become the blueprint for 21st-century cooperation, a model of shared progress between developing regions that challenge the dominance of traditional global powers. Together, they have the potential to redefine trade, technology, and development for generations to come. As we move deeper into this new era, one truth stands out: the world's future is no longer being shaped by a single region or ideology. It is being shaped by collaboration, innovation, and ambition across continents. From the streets of Beijing to the ports of Lagos, from the railways of Nairobi to the new smart cities rising in Cairo and Johannesburg, China and Africa are building that future one partnership, one project, and one generation at a time. And as that future unfolds, one can't help but realize that this is more than a story of economics, it's a story of destiny. A story of two regions, once distant, now bound by a shared dream of progress and prosperity. China's transformation of its economic relationship with Africa is not just reshaping their futures, it's reshaping the world itself.